Well, hello everyone. So today's topic of discussion is the headline, as you have read, forgot about the GDP and focus on the ICOR. So why we have put such headline that forgot about the GDP and focus on the ICOR? In economics, you must have studied about the GDP, that is the gross domestic product. It is a very it's gives a picture about the economy. If let's say that the GDP of a particular country is growing, then we say that it's a positive sign for the country. And if it's declining, then we say that it is unfavorable situation to that particular country or territory. And it is a beautiful number, isn't it? But in today's discussion, we will understand why we need we not to pay much attention to the GDP, and instead we should focus another attribute of the economical growth, that is ICOR. We will dive a deep into this ICOR, and we'll take in-depth understanding of this particular terminology. Okay, so yeah. First of all, what does this mean? What does ICOR means? So, ICOR means incremental capital output ratio. We can define it as uh, for for a particular particular uh, for a particular amount of capital that we have introduced or that we have injected to the economy, how much is the output, how much is the growth in the output. So in other terms, we can say that how much is the additional growth taken place in the economy by injecting 1% of the additional investment. So that's the basic understanding of the ICOR, that is incremental capital output ratio. Okay, so but why we are more focusing on the ICOR instead of GDP? Because let's say GDP is GDP just GDP is just a number. That means whether okay, so whether an automobile sector is producing whether an automobile sector is producing more number of vehicles or more number of outputs, or whether a hotel business is providing services to its customer. The GDP adds both of these and gives us a specific number denoted as gross domestic product, but it doesn't take into account the productivity and the hustle. In GDP, we can increase in calculating the GDP, we can increase that gross domestic product number by just simply putting more investment. If uh, if we inject if we inject capital or investment in a larger proportion to the GDP, then of course it is going to impact GDP in a positive manner. That means uh, the growth of the GDP is not dependent, or we can say this GDP number doesn't take into account the productivity or the utilization of the output. So you will ask, then which is the better parameter to uh, to know the productivity or the optimization or the utilization of the capital. Okay, so for this we take into consideration the ICOR, which tells us that how much additional growth takes place in the economy by injecting 1% of the additional investment or additional capital. Lesser is the ICOR, better is for the economy. That's a thumb rule, or that's a generic rule. The next question which might come to your mind is that what is the current ICOR figure for India? So it is currently 4.4. So before jumping into any conclusion that whether it is good or bad, we will have to take into consideration different factors. As ICOR suggests, the increase in the economic growth by injecting extra investment. But let's suppose take the example of the service industry the where the initial capital required might be lower, but it can generate a larger output in terms of the growth. So if we calculate the ICOR number for the service industry, it might gives us a result which will not be appropriate or which will not be correct. So ICOR has its own flaws. Okay. So how we can calculate ICOR in a better manner is just by splitting the sectors of a particular economy into manufacturing driven sectors and service driven sectors, and ICOR figure better works for the manufacturing driven sectors such as automobile, where we can establish a connection about how much investment, how much extra economic growth takes place for a 1% increase in the capital or investment. Okay, so that's it for the day.